Hello, and we're live. How's everybody doing? My name is Livio Zanardo. I am the Miami Program Manager for Code for South Florida, and this is our very first iteration of Open Government Hour Stories for Better Governments. Very excited for today because we're going to talk a lot about our work as an organization so far, and we're also going to get to have a full conversation with the whole leadership team here at Code for South Florida. So. If you haven't already, be sure to follow us on our social media. You can find right here in the banner, at Code for South on Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook. You can also go to codeforsouth.org, and you can scroll to the bottom of the site, and you can get basically all the information to subscribe. So, without further ado, let's welcome in our first two wonderful team members and associates. First, Eileen Guerra and Joan Lee, please welcome to the stream. How y'all doing?
Hello, Livio. Hello, everyone. Hi, Joan. You want to go?
Hi, happy to be here.
Awesome. Thank you for coming, Joan and Eileen. We're still waiting on Greg, but he should be coming back from a meeting as he always does. But yeah, would you want to introduce yourselves to our audience?
Sure. My name is Eileen Guerra, and I am the program associate focusing on communications, marketing, but also what we're going to talk about today. I've transitioned into a more UX research role, so I'm very excited to share that with you guys.
And hi, my name is Joan, also a program associate at Code for South, focusing on volunteer onboarding. So if you ever join a new project, you'll most likely be speaking with me as one of the first people you'll ever meet, and also working with our partnerships with a variety of other organizations that we usually partner with for projects.
Awesome. And well, I guess I'm the last one for now. My name is Livio. Aside from managing the Miami aspects of Code for South Florida, I also manage a lot of the storytelling and a lot of the communications for the organization, from storytelling and how the story is driven and the different messages that we put out for each one of our projects. So definitely very, very excited to be here, to be hosting this today. But first things first, I think there's one big major question that at least people who have been following us for a while might have, and that is, why Open Government Hour, right? There are many reasons as to why we chose Open Government Hour, but it really comes down to our mission. One of our mission is to really build better governments. And part of that process is really opening up the processes that exist in social services and bringing out more open data and open information about what government is doing so that citizens can stay informed and act accordingly to what they believe is the best policy or the best way for government to best serve people. So it's not really just it's just a big question of how do we build better government. It's really about how do we get people to engage with government, and how do we bring the story to the people who can bring about the most change. And part of Code for South Florida is doing that through technology, through civic engagement, for smart cities and for digital transformation. So that's one reason for Open Government Hour. Joan and Eileen, do you want to give your own take on that, or?
I think you handled it nicely.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, and we also want to make this a recurring edition, so we'll definitely be having more conversations under the name of Open Government Hour, not just about our Justice Discovery Initiative, but also about other stuff going on in the organization. So, awesome. So let's talk about, now that we're here, let's talk about the Justice Discovery Initiative, because it's really what we've been working on for the last, for the last month at least. Yes. Basically, it's kind of a culmination of everything that we've been doing and putting all of our values and processes together into one single process and sprint. While I'm handling a lot of the storytelling and the communications, we have Eileen and Joan who have also their own roles in the project. But how would you describe? Let's start with Eileen. How would you describe the Justice Discovery Project?
So for me, on the UX side, it's been a journey. I've been able to learn through the Justice Discovery Initiative, um, just to open up. I'd say it's opening up government for the public, and encouraging feedback. So not only to just give them feedback, but to be able to build a better future for, you know, government and the public. I think it's just opening it up a bit better for people to understand and see the information that the government is giving us, and other system, or how would you say it? Yeah, other platforms, right? That the information that they're giving us. So yeah, it's been a journey, but we'll talk about that in another section that you have, Livio. I know you have
Sure,
something prepared.
sure. Joan, how would you describe Justice Discovery Initiative?
Sure. I think it came about in a multitude of ways, right? We are already working on projects like Badge Watch and People Budget, which is really like the centerfold of the Justice Discovery Initiative. However, I think the reason why we want to expand that into even greater and more in-depth projects is for a multitude of reasons, including one, just the political climate that we're in. Really, to us, seemed as a spark for community needs and interest in these projects, right? That are both proactive from like the people budget side of people wanting to actively get involved to change how their local communities are spending dollars, right, in the future. But then also from a reactive side of seeing like for things like Badge Watch, if people have felt disenfranchised, are there any active tools that they can use to that are related to their qualms, right, or related to challenges that they are already experiencing? I think very much the opportunity of this Justice Discovery Initiative is that we're trying to hit community needs from both ends.
Awesome, awesome. And I think it's very important to emphasize that the very specific problem that we're trying to resolve through this is there's two points to this project I think that is very important to point out. And the first one is that there are a lot of problems with the lack of data and lack of standardized data around some of these databases or these sources of information. And the second problem is that the standards for local government budget data, there just aren't, there just aren't widely implemented anywhere. So, and part of what we're trying to do is to really like bring down, bring some order around this chaos in a way that people can really understand and people can meaningfully engage with. So, yeah, that's kind of the Justice Discovery story, part of the Justice Discovery story in a nutshell. Um, so for those of you that want to learn more specifically around the initiative, we should you can actually visit codeforsouth.org / justice -discovery-initiative. That's a bit of a long link. We can put it here in the banner real quick. Create banner. So cool. So I'm putting here in the banner /justice. And if you're interested in learning more, then you can go to this link at the bottom, copy and paste it if you can. I'm not sure if you can for video, but but you can learn more about the initiative in more detail and what we're doing. But speaking more of a higher level, and I actually want to talk about some of the principles that we have running through the project as well. Given that the project is kind of it's us putting together everything that we've learned this year as an organization, what are some of the principles, in your own words, that are currently in action on the project? And I'm sorry that was a long-winded question, but please ask me again if I need to clarify.
Sure. So I actually prepared a couple slides just to show you, very pretty slides. If I could share that really quickly.
Sure.
Very short and sweet, but just to get the vision behind my role in this project and just to answer your question. So let's see.
Yeah, you can share your screen at the bottom.
Can you see it?
Yes, yes, we do.
Yay. Okay, you can see it, right? Very big?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so basically my role and also Joan's role, because we've been working hand in hand, discovering ways to improve how the public sees and seeks the justice reform through the data. So really the principle behind this project is the users, and kind of like what Livia was going to talk about now, is that users are cool, right? We need the users, and we don't really like to call them users. We like to call them people, because they are people, right, that are using and that need these tools that we're further improving. So basically what I said earlier is that we're opening up the government to make it honestly and transparent, and have equal access to everyone, and have accountability and change. So through Badge Watch and People Budget, we're holding the government accountable, right? We're holding one police department, the police officers, accountable for their actions and behaviors. And then we're also holding the city accountable for having that public budget, right? So that we can all see it. And our hope is to discover a way to push the conversation of data standards and help inform and engage communities, right? Because when we know the budget, the city budget, we're able to engage with it, and we're able to have a voice in what the city decides. So really quickly, I just want to talk to you about kind of like the badge watch side, right? Is that the civilian review boards, and that's what we're using, right? The data. We're analyzing the data and seeing how we can improve on it and make it more transparent. So a little bit of backstory is that for Badge Watch, we're collaborating with CIP, which is a civilian investigative panel in Miami. So they have a record of complaints for police officers. But overall, across the country, CRBs, which are civilian review boards, are given the task to review these complaints. So it's not just CIP in Miami, but there are many others that are doing the same work. But the only problem is that it's basically they're put barriers to stop them from carrying out the oversight, right? Their responsibility is to use this data to better the behaviors of the officers. So our user research findings and objectives for badgewatch.org has been that we have learned that all police complaints, not all of them, are equal. So it's not all accessible to people. And then for People Budget, it's the same thing. Not a lot of South Floridians understand where the dollars are going or what they're being used for. So that's a little bit about like the user research side, Livio, and just kind of like the principles that you're talking about, the user, the people. That is what's important for us. So that's been my role, and Joan's role as well, because we've been working hand in hand to see what the students for this initiative have been working on and how we can help them kind of analyze the data, because it's not just developing, it's also understanding the data that they're given and how it's going to impact the end user. So that's been my side. It's been a lot, right, Joan?
Eileen Guerra, user researcher. That's definitely true. There's a lot of red tape around around accessing these complaints, even though they're supposed to be public data and public domain, really, as it is usually termed. They're often very difficult to access, and they're often very difficult to access, and there are a lot of hurdles to get through, which means that the data isn't readily accessible. So part of what these applications are doing is making that data more easily available. So I want to go into next to you, Joan, again, but now Greg actually made it to the stream, so let's welcome him, please. How you doing, Greg?
Hello, world. Happy to be here.
Good to have you. Glad you're here. So
Go ahead.
So we were just talking about some of the principles that are governing the work of Justice Discovery as an organization. Like, what are our principles, our values, and practice for this initiative? And Joan, I don't know if you want to go next to answer that question, or you want to defer to Greg. Up to you.
Sure. Gray, you missed a wonderful presentation by Eileen. The only addition that I would put to it is that if I had to choose a word to describe the Justice Discovery Initiative, I would say probably engagement. Because yes, we are looking to expand access to existing government data. However, as we are trying to do that currently with our student teams, we are really trying to push them to remember exactly who are the people who actually would find these tools useful, how would they truly use them, and as a result, how can we create tools that are truly like meant for the audience in mind. So really trying to hone in on how people probably will want to engage with the tools we are using is very much at the crux of a lot of our conversations during this development stage.
Awesome, awesome. Definitely, there's definitely something to be said. We talk a lot about user-centered design, and as Eileen said, users are cool, so we have to build stuff that they're actually going to use and they're actually going to benefit from. That is one of the biggest one of the biggest points or columns of our work, really. So, Greg, what's your take? What are some of the principles and values that are driving the Justice Discovery Initiative?
Yeah, thanks, Livio. I think one of the biggest things that we all agree on as part of like our internal operating values is empathy is our operating system, so that's one of the biggest things. The second, I think, is like no one is coming, it's up to us. I think as young people and as people in a time right now where there's a pandemic, there's post-election drama, there is so many things happening, including Black Lives Matter. There's a lot of energy around we need to make sure that people know this is a problem, but oftentimes that energy isn't into the execution and implementation of real life solutions. And I think through the Justice Discovery Initiative, what we're doing is just that. It's not a political thing. It's more of a why isn't the data accessible for people to see what's happening with the budget? Why aren't people able to see police disciplinary records? And why aren't people able to see how the complaints flow through their system? This happens at a neighborhood, local level. And I think through our work, what we're actually doing is we're kind of like chipping away at the little like nuggets to addressing the problem and getting government leaders to actually see that and view it. So I think the work that we're doing today is going to be felt in Miami, hopefully for the next 10 years. And I think the team is just the right one to do it. So I think in our operating values, those are some of the things that I think we're doing. And if you want to learn more, you can always go on codeforsouth.org to see other projects that are like a part of that process. But as we scale, we think like the data is going to be important, but how people access the data is going to be even more important.
Definitely. It's definitely an exciting time to be in our industry, right? Like, as I think we said at a previous meeting, like, oh, we decided just to become a Code for South in the year 2020. What a year to dedicate to service in the public interest field. But you do speak to something very specific, something interesting that I definitely want to bring out for our audience, and that is the idea that we're creating local impact, and we want to make that local impact scalable. So I'm going to open it for the team. But what's your take on this, and how do you see this unraveling in the context of Justice Discovery and the organization as a whole?
I think this is super interesting, which I would love to open this up for even our internal discussion, because one thing that we also constantly talk about is some of the barriers to entry for a lot of people when wanting to combat community issues, like those that we touch on in the Justice Discovery Initiative, is just intimidation that people feel like, okay, current resources that exist are housed on platforms or with coding languages that I'm personally not familiar with. So how can I actually contribute? And I think as a result, one thing that we've been talking about a little bit is, and pushing the students within Justice Discovery Initiative, is to really take hold and leverage the assets that you already have and the knowledges that you already have. Learn how to work with technologies that you already know and your own knowledge base to create minimum viable products that prove points and start conversations. Because then along the way, you'll create a snowball effect that can get into something bigger. I very much like Greg, as you were talking, started remembering these previous conversations, because as much as Justice Discovery Initiative is toward creating solutions, I think it also is very much one that aims to also just create more conversations and show people the realm of possibilities. Um, I knew that I had a question that I wanted to pose to you all, but it is lost in my head right now as I started going off on this. But definitely wanted to bring that up into a conversation.
Sweet, sweet. I'm sure it'll come back to you, but I definitely love your point about using the assets that you already have and just using what's available to you instead of worrying about, hey, I don't know that, I don't know X, Y, or Z, but you do have A, B, C, D, and you can probably do EFG with those first items. So no, that's pretty awesome. Eileen, what's your take on localized at scale?
So, for me, honestly, coming to Code for South Florida has been life changing because it's given me a different perspective on these things, on just daily issues that go on in our communities. And definitely something that has been very helpful for me to see is that Code for South is always thinking about how can we make it easier for other communities to use, because it's not just Miami, it's not just Broward or Miami-Dade or South Florida in general. It's for everybody, right? We can even scale this to South America, even though that's where it initially started, like the people budget, participatory budget started there. But we just have a little bit of that, right? And we can use that to improve and for other communities to use at the same time. So I think scaling is great, and it's something that we have in mind. And it's a bit difficult, right? It's a bit difficult, but I think we're doing it we're going the right way. But definitely, this is something that I really, really enjoy working with in Code for South and this project specifically, because I see how our work is going to impact other communities as well in the future.
I think definitely speaks to a few points on one, making the movement more accessible, and one, making the movement more accessible, and two, basically proving that what we're doing right now can actually work in other communities by using local resources in the way that Joan was mentioning, and using available resources. You don't need anything new. So yeah, definitely love your take on making this movement as inclusive as possible. Greg, what do you think about the concept of creating hyper local impact at a repeatable scale in the way that we're trying to do right now?
Yeah, on the top of localized scale, in the tech scene, venture capital scene, Miami is always talked about as this petri dish. We're diverse, we're inclusive, we're the gateway to Latin America and the Caribbean. Like, you go to all these talks and people talk about it all the time, but we often don't talk about it in terms of government and the services that we're doing, which is like really inclusive, right? It's like a lot of people, especially marginalized communities and low income communities, leverage government services. So when I think about localized scale, I think about the work Code for South is doing in terms of making public code. The idea about open source is you can make it open and available for anybody to go on GitHub, fork a project, try to deploy it, get it running on their local, touch it up a little bit, and they can do whatever they want. The challenge in civic tech that we're seeing, at least from my conversations with other people in different cities, is how forkable is your project? Meaning, just because it's up doesn't mean it's easy to use or reuse. And I think what we're doing is we're tackling that problem of, first, one, identifying an area that can scale. When we look at Badge Watch, we look at like the 12 or 18 states that have public disciplinary data. We look at People Budget, which looks at the budget data for many cities that have it openly available. So many other people can take our work, iterate on it, create their own versions of it. And I think that's where the magic is. In terms of localized scale, I think just like the people have been talking about, Miami is the perfect petri dish, and this team reflects that. So when we talk about localized scale, I think we're going to be in a great place to see how our work can be reused by other places, as well as be inspired from places outside of the US. Eileen talked about Brazil, which started off as a participatory budgeting spot. If you look at the data really closely, Latin America, South America have 1/3 of the most examples and demonstration of participatory budgeting models, as well as one of the largest open source communities without any policy saying we need to do participatory budgeting. To me, that's amazing. How are we going to find those developers and tell them, hey, we're doing this stuff in the US, do you want to work on this project? There could be a barrier. Many people speak maybe Spanish first. We have the luxury of our team of having Spanish speakers like Eileen and Livio, which just unlocks this new gateway of people that can kind of fill into our work in open source work our work, reuse it, or we can take their work and reuse it. So I think in terms of those 5 skills, the work we're doing today can be used in the future. And even if we stop doing the work, people can always kind of look at it and learn from our case studies to identify ways to continue innovation, which I think is the beauty of like the work we're doing.
So for those who don't know, forking a project in the tech world means that you literally copy the project line by line of code from GitHub, and which makes the project shareable, and it allows other people to use your code base as well, which is very important for open source cultures and making our work shareable and scaling our work to other cities. So yes, there's definitely a lot of opportunity, as Greg mentioned, here in Miami as a place that bridges the hemisphere and it basically brings everything in an intersect. There's a lot of capital here that is starting to move over here in Miami, and on top of that, the diversity that is present here also gives us like you said, a unique testing ground for new solutions and across different demographics and finding ways to go. So it's very exciting to be doing this work. I actually wanted to address. We already talked a lot about. We talked a lot about the good stuff that we're doing, and we've talked a lot about the impact that we hope to have. So let's talk a little bit about. I don't want to call it controversy, but at least some of some contention around this work that from the feedback that we've received, and it's that we've had people give us the feedback that our work is political, right, and that because you're trying to change the system and you're trying to influence public opinion, then your work is inherently political and you're siding with a specific political party, right? So that's what's. I believe that we don't think it is that way, right? But what's your take to that perspective, Joan? I know you have a call in a couple minutes, so I want to give you the floor before you have to go.
Oh, thanks. No, great question. My answer to that has always been the same for a variety of similar conversations, which is that I personally, at least, don't believe that it is inherently political to want to build tools that encourage greater civic discussion. How people want to use our tools, right? Is a different conversation from making resources available. Because the current fact is that, like, if something is political, that is the assumption that that equal resources and ability to hear various sides is already existing. But as we've seen, like, the whole reason for Civic Tech is that oftentimes there's a dearth of information and a lack of bridges for communication for people to access it. So I think very much, in fact, the work that we try to do is just to encourage greater democracy and open conversation for people to decide for themselves how they want to view their own politics. So yeah, those are my 2 cents.
Nice. That was awesome. So, Eileen, how do you? So if you need to go to your next call, that's fine. But that was awesome. Eileen, you want to go
Perfect.
next?
Thanks, all.
Yeah, Joan took away some of the things I want to say. But yeah, definitely. I think, Greg mentions a lot, right? We're not partisan, but we're not neutral. That doesn't imply that we're neutral to the things that are going on in our communities, in our country, in the world, right? Because these things do not only belong to the United States, but the whole world, right? These things are going on all over the world. But coming from a country where a lot of the things are hidden from the community, right? A lot of things are kind of taken away from them and they don't have a voice in what they say and the things they can decide, right? I think it's not about being political. It's about realizing that we have these real issues in our communities and we're taking action. We're not picking a side. We're just, doing it for the people, for everyone. And in this case, for all Americans, no matter what race, anything. We're doing it for everyone. So I think that's my take on it. I've never really seen it as political until I got the comments that it's like political. And then I was like, wait, what? I was confused because in reality, I love this work because I relate to it, right? Like I've been in some of these situations, so I want to improve that for other people and generations to come. So I know that's cheesy, but it's real, right? So yeah, that's my take on it.
That was great. It's definitely cheesy, but it's way too real.
It's real. It's not only in movies, it's real. Yeah.
So Greg, I'm opening the floor for you. So what's your take on the commentary that our work is inherently political?
I think we are not political in some senses, but it's good that people feel that way. That means we're making people uncomfortable. And that means we're touching on real problems. If we're doing something that people didn't really care about, they wouldn't really have any way to feel about it. They'd be like, I don't understand that thing. But when you're making a splash in the world, that kind of like tension, that opinion of the work that you're doing shows that you're doing something that people either show interest in, whether they love it or hate it. And I think it's a beautiful thing. I think we need more of that. We need more people saying, I don't like this or I like this. And that is what's going to help us refine and become a better organization that truly serves everybody. But at the high level of it, I think there is a problem in the US right now between the way people see and interact with government and how they talk about it. And as technologists, we see an opportunity in leveraging open source, public code, and public data to address that and make it a little bit more visible to help with these discussions, increasing civic engagement. We also see opportunities in digital transformation. I think government and anybody that's an American that is spending tax dollars in the city of Miami or in South Florida wants to see their money going towards something that is actually useful. If you tell them, hey, we took $10 million and now the unemployment website isn't working, that's a problem, right? It's like, oh, we need that right now. If you tell them, hey, we have this voter registration system and guess what? We had this issue, so you have to sign in like tomorrow instead of today. People are going to be like, what? That costs how much money? So I think it's just the case of like, we have all this money being invested. These tools should work for everyone. And when you get down to that, it becomes a lot easier for people to be like, well, yeah, I agree. Like that's my tax money. That came out of my check. It should be in this way. So for the way I think about our work, it's more about like, how do we make government better? And to make it better, sometimes you can't work within the system. You have to work outside of it to demonstrate things that can inspire that change. And when you're talking about from a people first perspective, that's when you bring up all this tension. When we're doing stuff around justice discovery, of course it's going to be tension. There's Black people in America today getting a lot of issues from police brutality that aren't seeing justice. There's not only Black people, there's Hispanic people, and it's impacting many other people. So of course, when you say we're going to do this thing around police searching complaints, people are going to feel uncomfortable about it. It's like, what? Why are you doing that? But we're not saying police are bad. We're just saying there should be the same tools for people, just like cops have, to look in a database and see everybody based on face or use a facial recognition algorithm to detect somebody. There should be similar tools for people to hold police accountable. That's all. So that's my thoughts.
Nice. So there's definitely
Drops mic.
Yeah, you just drop the stream right now. But yeah, no, you touched on a lot of things, not only like how issues impact different people and basically kind of having an equitable playing field, no matter where you stand in the in the social landscape that is our country, or that is really any country, where governments should serve people, and the systems that government build should also serve people. And I think that we've seen that a lot in we've had our fair share of instances where government systems have not really worked for people, and we've seen it especially now with COVID. Now that the pandemic kind of accelerated the whole process, and we've actually written about this a few times in our blog. But how the pandemic accelerated the basic kind of like the process of change, and people started going out and saying, hey, we don't like a lot of things that we see. I think that we definitely saw an opportunity to take that energy and take those voices and turn it into actual deliverables that we hope to be using across the entire country with the help of volunteers or professional organizations that want to implement change through sustainable technology solutions. I think there's a lot of opportunity for massive transformation in that way. But yeah, there's definitely a lot to talk about, but we're pretty much we're slightly over the time that we intended to for the stream. So I guess we're gonna have to go on with closing remarks. don't forget to connect with us and follow us for the next stream and more updates. But yeah, I guess we're going to open it for closing remarks. Too bad Joan's not here, but Eileen, you want to go first for closing remarks for the stream, for today's stream on Justice Discovery?
Sure. I just want to invite whoever's watching and whoever's going to watch in the future when this is recorded. If you have any thoughts on the work we're doing, and specifically the Justice Discovery Initiative, just because it's something that we're working on right now, and we really want your feedback. So if you have anything you want to share with us, anything, just remember to connect with us on Code for South, and also the link that is being shown right there. Just look at it, read it. Tell us what you think. This is something that we're all going to be impacted by, just like we talked about right now. All of us are impacted. So we want your thoughts. That's my take. Greg,
go ahead.
Yeah, I'll just end it off with the thought that, government should work for the people, by the people in the digital age, and no one is coming. The mission we have is it's up to us. It's up to us as young people, old people, doesn't matter, but as technologists or even non-technologists to really examine and look at ways to improve processes for making services offered by government better, starting where we can, right? We can't always go to the federal level. We can't even go to the state level. Sometimes it's hard at the county level, but we can start in our neighborhoods. We can be the change and demonstrate change. So if you're interested in any of this work, join us. We're building things for a fraction of the cost, doing a lot more in terms of work in websites and applications. And we're really going out in the community and making sure that it's built for everybody. So if this is work that you're interested into, check us out at codeforsouth.org. Sign up as a volunteer, sign up as a partner, put in some funding. We can fund us in many different ways. We're here and we plan to continue being here. And the people you see on this panel, Eileen, Livio, Joan, they're going to be the next leaders in different positions wherever they go. And I think this spirit and this nature of the work that we're doing is one that we need to see a better Miami and South Florida. So,
thank you, Greg. So that was awesome. Those are great closing messages. And with that, I think we're going to close up the stream. But this has been fantastic. I think we touched on, we've summarized what Justice Discovery is really, really well. Highly recommend if you're still interested, go to the link at the bottom. And please like, comment, subscribe this video and all of our social media so that you're informed and you never miss any other updates, because we're doing a lot of cool work here that we hope to create very long-lasting impact for South Florida and beyond. So, yeah, I don't have anything else to add. This is awesome, and thank you very much for your time. Thank you, Greg. Thank you, Eileen, and thank you, Joan, who's not here anymore. But this was awesome. Have a good day, y'all. Thank you.